For Sunday, December 17th, you found the Georgia Gang. Topping our agenda today, 832. That's the new number in the landslide of Keisha Lance Bottoms for Atlanta mayor. Sam Olens is out as president of Kennesaw State University, and there's a big decision this week about Plant Vogtle, the nuclear facility in Augusta. Some of the stories up for grabs on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
And we're glad you could be with us on this Sunday, the Sunday just before Christmas. Well, not just before, but
just
pretty
before,
close.
the Sunday before.
8 days. I'm not done shopping.
Neither am I.
Sorry about that. Just haven't had a chance. We're sort of, this is kind of interesting. This is the election that won't end. The mayor's race in the city of Atlanta. It's just there. And I thought our old friend Jim Galloway had a good point this week that we haven't even resolved 2009 yet. Right. Anyway, recount complete. Keisha Lance Bottoms wins by a scant 832 votes. It still astounds me, that small margin among 90,000 votes cast. But Mary Norwood is not going quietly into that good night. She discovered a Supreme Court of Georgia ruling, which I remember, disallowing the annexation of a neighborhood in southwest Atlanta called Loch Lomond. And she raises the question that they should not have voted in the mayor's race, but they did, we think. What do you hear, Alexis?
Well, I don't know for sure how that settled out, but I do know that Loch Lomond Estates, as it has been called, is a well-to-do neighborhood in southwest Atlanta, was off of Cascade Road and beyond 285, west of 285. And I think it's about 1,000 or so people that I read that is included in that neighborhood.
How many, 1,000? About
1,000.
Okay.
And so if you say, what, 20% of those people voted, 30%? So I don't see that it's going to make any difference, but it likely would be it's an unusual neighborhood. It would probably be the people who would vote for Keisha Lance Bottoms, but they were given permission.
She lives about a mile away.
To vote for Mary Norwood by the endorsements from other Southwest Atlanta folk.
There's also 4 other annex sections that are also being disputed by the Norwood camp. So it's not just that annex section. There's 4 others now. I don't know how many votes are involved in that.
Yeah, I think that the total is 1,000 for all of these. For all of these areas, it's an interesting challenge. I mean, if there's actually going to be a legal challenge to it, because they were disallowed, and there was a timing factor involved. They had been annexed in. They missed a missed a deadline, and as a result, they were de-annexed. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are now part of the city
of South Fulton
of Renaissance.
Excuse me, with the new
they
name.
just changed their name.
Well, thank you for that, because we discussed it. It got very confusing as to whether they would go. They had made the decision to, this is my memory, to annex to the city of Atlanta.
Right.
Prior to the passage of the city of South Fulton, now the city of Renaissance.
Right.
That is correct. And then even the Fulton County Board of the Board of Elections director, as we tape, says he's not sure about that. And if you're right, Alexis, 1,000 votes, and if they're pro Keisha Lance Bottoms, that could be a kind of a monkey wrench.
No. It's 1,000 residents.
Oh, so not registered.
Exactly right.
Oh,
so the number of registered voters.
Oh, okay.
You're probably about right.
Well, then that
probably around 30%, and then of those you give Mary a share, right? Because she did well,
right?
Around across the city, so you got to give her 10-15% of the vote.
Right.
So that still wouldn't.
You'd have to convince a vote. You'd have to convince a court, rather, that there is a significant enough margin for doing the election over.
Mathematically, it doesn't seem so.
Right.
It doesn't. Now, while all this is going on, and while Keisha Lance Bottoms is trying to do an orderly transition, she's got Larry Gellerstedt Jr. and Vicki Palmer as her transition chiefs. While that's going on, I don't know any other way to put this. Kasim Reed has gone nuts. The angry Kasim Reed, not the competent mayor of Atlanta Kasim Reed, the angry Kasim Reed. And he's threatened Mary Norwood with a slander suit using a big-time libel attorney. He has
over the 2009
over the 2009
allegations.
Comments that Mary Norwood made,
which is protected speech under the First Amendment.
Sure.
It's just an intimidating, bullying
she
thing.
She threatened him with a lawsuit in reverse when she was running, and so I mean that's just politics paying politics.
Well, I would condemn both of those actions. It certainly is divisive, and it doesn't help.
She threatened, but he sent an angry letter through his attorney.
Okay, so there's a difference. One's in writing. Okay.
And then he has sued. He and the city, in this case, have sued the developer Egbert Perry and the former chief of the Atlanta Housing Authority over that land. And it's too complicated to get into. Over the value of land promised to Perry.
It's not that complicated, in my opinion. I'll defer to you in a second, and we both know this very well, Jeff. But I would say this: Egbert Perry, in my opinion, is a very fine, prominent African American businessman. I think the mayor.
He's the chairman of Fannie Mae.
I think the mayor should not have insulted him personally. I thought that was wrong, and they are rivals here. Egbert Perry has properties that maybe Amazon might look at, and the mayor. And perhaps his friends have obviously properties that Amazon will look. I think this is a bigger thing than how you've framed it. I think this is a rivalry that's
what
really
I meant
gotten out of
was
hand.
the valuation of the land.
Right.
Yeah,
It's almost impossible to determine.
That's it's been determined actually by the Atlanta Housing Authority, which is my client. So in the interest of full disclosure, this is lawsuit number 2. The Atlanta Housing Authority sued first, suing the Integral Group, which Egbert Perry owns, over some options to purchase 100 acres of land at greatly reduced values. And he was given these options to try to bring some market rate projects to areas where there was a lot of low-income housing to balance it out. And as we know now, over the last 10 years, that scenario has changed dramatically because you now have $1 million condos selling in places like the old Fourth Ward. So you already have that market rate component there that wasn't there when this deal was done.
And the city has now gone crazy over having affordable housing.
And the city really wants to focus.
By trying to force affordable
the city really
housing.
wants to focus on affordable housing and wants to use that 100 acres. And so this is the second lawsuit. The first one, filed by the Atlanta Housing Authority, doesn't seek any punitive damages or monetary damages. This one does.
But there was no need for the mayor to try to ruin the reputation of Egbert Perry.
No, he's the chairman of Fannie Mae, the National Mortgage Corporation. The guy's a respected guy.
I think Mayor-elect Bottoms ought to condemn this. She's got to be careful of her ally Kasim Reed's, as you say, temper outbursts.
Well, and then there's 2 more. This week, Kasim Reed got counsel to approve the consolidation of the 3 major city pension funds. Now, I don't know why he wants to do that. Jeff, you said last week it was because of economies of scale.
Right.
After the corruption that occurred in those pension boards under Maynard Jackson and Bill Campbell, a couple of very prominent businessmen went to jail, went to prison. I don't know why he wants to mess with that. It seems to be the more city employees are able to be represented on 3 separate pension boards than on 1.
Which they are presently now.
That's right. And the mayor's now going to consolidate that and have a majority of the people on the boards. It just looks like a kind of a money pot I wouldn't want to touch.
There has been a piece of legislation introduced on council to change the makeup and how the makeup it gets selected for the combined boards. And there apparently was a section or something that said they could not do that in order to pass before they pass the legislation to combine the boards. So I think they are.
But they had the past corruption. Now they
had the representation.
Just this week.
Right. I just think that the more boards you have, the more the more opportunity you have for the kinds of issues that you're talking about.
Well,
so if you have one good board that was reconstituted.
Just this week, Larry Gray,
but the mayor wants
advisor,
more power over those boards. That's the issue.
He does, but I'm saying the council is looking at not making that so.
I don't know why Kasim Reed wants to touch that. Just this week, Larry Gray, the financial advisor to the city pension boards, was stomped by the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, for what amounted to illegal acts. I'm sort of surprised that all he got was sort of a ban. There's one more thing. It has to do with city pensions. That's too complicated. You agree with me on that? And we also don't have time. So when we come back, we're going to turn our attention to Cobb County, where there is a resignation at Kennesaw State and talk of a tax increase. Cobb County, stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
An interesting story out of Kennesaw State University in Cobb County, the state's third largest university. Sam Owens, the pretty respected and well-liked president of that institution, is resigning. He will leave in February. He's the former attorney general. I guess, my guess, and I haven't looked into it as I know you have, Phil, the regents just wouldn't forgive his banning of the cheerleaders. Well, which was an absolutely proper ban.
It goes beyond that. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, to use the old cliche, and that occurred, as you remember, at a September 30th game. And after that game, Owens was found not to have done it, but the athletic department said those girls have to stay in the locker room. But
cheerleaders,
the cheerleaders. But it goes back to actually the disgraced President Dan Papp, the predecessor of Sam Owens. There was a lot of management issues.
Mismanagement and
his contract was not renewed, and so they had to get a new president, as we all remember. Well, there was no national search, and I think most of us are always in favor of national searches to get the best person, especially
32,000 student university.
This is the third largest college in the university system. And basically, you know, if you want to get into the politics of this, as we remember a year ago, Chris Carr was made Attorney General because the governor kind of thought that maybe Sam Owens would be good. The regents were divided, but the regents went ahead with it. And so Sam just didn't work out. And as you point out, the cheerleader thing, he was supposed to, under the university system rules, alert the chancellor. And as I mentioned on the Georgia game, the chancellor got very angry.
You were ahead of that.
At having his instructions ignored.
In addition, some of the faculty and the other folks at Kennesaw were unhappy with his appointment because he had no academic administrative experience.
He wasn't welcome from day one.
Yeah. So he was not.
You know, and he was not cleaning. He was not effectively. He did some good. I don't want to beat up on Sam Owens.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to clean up the Papp mess.
Well, I thought he did do that.
Well, he's trying, but there's still some issues that are unresolved.
Well, we've known Sam a long time.
He's a good job.
He did a good job as Cobb County Chairman.
Cobb County Chairman, Attorney General.
Apparently, there were some issues, obviously, with him in the job as Attorney General, and that governor or others might have wanted to see changed, and that's why he got over there. I just think that this is a terrible outcome for a guy who's put in made a tremendous sacrifice, you know, in civic life and public life to endless ways.
I would agree with that.
I wish he was still chairman of the Cobb County Commission.
Well, we're going to go to that, but let me just interject. I don't know Alan Judd of the AJC. But that story he did a week ago about the president of, speaking schools here now, the president of our fashion college, Savannah College of Art and Design.
Right.
Wasn't that some reporting?
Right.
She's the highest paid president of a college anywhere in the United States. Wow. Just all the details, it's just a wonderful piece of reporting. But Cobb County, I don't know I don't know Alan Judd. I just thought he did a good job.
I know the subject of his piece.
Okay.
She's a former client.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Full disclosure. Thank you very much. So in Cobb County, I don't know what's going on, but you got Sam Owens kicked out, I guess. I can't say he resigned. And the new chairman of the commission, Mike Boyce, wants to raise the sales tax. That doesn't seem to me to be a popular sort of item in Cobb County, go from 6 cents to 7 cents.
No, and it's not just Mike Boyce. There may or may not be a majority of the commission. Bob Wetherington actually proposed it, and Boyce, the chairman, has been promoting it. The key is public safety, and the Cobb police need more. So they were trying to get this money. They were looking at the sales tax to hike it. But the kicker, and Jeff, you and I have always talked about this, is if you're going to do this, lower the millage rate in response. That's fiscally responsible. We've talked about this in various counties all around Georgia. Well, the problem, Dick, is they're not committing to lowering the millage rate to make up for this basically tax hike.
They need the money.
It's a huge tax hike.
And they want the money because they've got the Braves there now, and so they've got all
they
this
have a huge spending problem. They have a
Yeah.
huge spending problem in Alexis. They just can't print more money. They have to
that's
deal
why
with
they're
this.
raising the taxes.
Police is part of your budget. Police police and fire.
Yeah.
It's part of the general fund.
That's really why we have local governments.
And then over in DeKalb.
So they can't budget properly for police and fire. They got to raise taxes.
Well, it'd be nice
People
if they
get
had
to vote on tax increases for bridges and roads.
Well, it'd be nice if they need to go to a police fund separate from the general fund, because as we all know, with government, if you put it in the general fund, it doesn't necessarily go where you want it to go. So that's the issue in Cobb County, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. And it depends on the party primaries in May 22nd, or in Georgia are the party primaries, and you've got 2 of the county commissioners that are going to wait and see. I think I'll maybe be opposed to this tax, but maybe after the primary we'll vote for it. I don't know. I'm speculating.
That could be. And we got to get out of here, but just quickly, Jeff, in DeKalb County, I thought it was kind of funny. The commission rolled back the late night pouring hours. DeKalb was alone. DeKalb was alone in the metro area, and having 4 a.m.
That's
last
right.
call.
And then that has been, as you know, a contentious issue for years now.
The new cities all quickly rolled them back.
Right, exactly right. And so they finally got that. But we were talking about the issues in Cobb with the tax increase, and then Michael Thurman comes out with a balanced budget in DeKalb County.
That's right.
And a reserve fund balance.
That was next. That was the rainy day fund goes way up.
That's a real reversal.
Isn't that something?
And Jeff, you need to point out that under the last few chairs, the budgets were in deficit.
They
from
were.
The start.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
And he
kind of on the hope that money comes in.
And he has pointed that out and said, we're not going to do that anymore.
And so you notice it got almost no play because it's actually the right thing to do.
Right.
So good for Michael Thurman. All right, when we come back, we're going to take up this issue of the nuclear power plants at Plant Vogtle, because they're costly to all of us. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
The long percolating problem of what to do about Plant Vogtle over in Augusta is now coming to a head. The PSC, Public Service Commission, is going to vote this coming week, December 22nd, I believe, to whether to continue the project or scuttle it.
Two new nuclear units.
2 new nuclear units, the only ones under construction in the United States, as I understand it, and an aim at more sustainable power sources. And I can't imagine that the PSC would scuttle the project now after all that money's been spent and after the decks have been cleared for ratepayers to pay it.
Well,
but you just had South Carolina do the same thing just a couple of
They did
just
scuttle
earlier
it.
this year. They did after spending billions of dollars, they had to let go of that project for much the same reason.
And it is really harmed the South Carolina economy. It is really workers have been thrown out of work, and we don't want that here, Jeff. And I really think that you could negotiate something without abandoning the project. In fact, the reason the vote was pulled up is because there's some favorable tax benefits if you can go ahead with the project now by December 31st as opposed to next year.
Well, they've also got some federal loans that came through.
Well, Toshiba, the parent company,
paying back.
had to pay up on kind of its insurance policy when Westinghouse, the main contractor, declared bankruptcy. This is where a lot of this started, as we know. And no one could have foreseen that Westinghouse
Do
was
any of
go
us
bankrupt.
think the Public Service Commission members will vote against this project?
I don't know.
I think the majority will want to continue it. It would be, I think it's gone too far down the road to abandon it.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Now, interesting things as we get ready for the General Assembly to come back into town in January. All these task forces that got formed are all now reporting, and I find it pretty interesting. I thought the Rural Development Group from the House, which met in Milledgeville this week, had some interesting things to say. Not particularly earth-shattering, but it shows you how hard it is to get people to take jobs or create jobs in much of Georgia. It's a major problem. And they focused on the internet first, high-speed internet. That seems relatively easy to do. Am I missing something there?
No. And I have to say this, and I hope we devote a segment in a future show to these study committees, because there's some great policy issues that Democrats and Republicans can frankly agree on some of these. I'll give you a quick example. Representative John Carson over in Marietta chaired a a distracted driving study committee. They've studied how many states, 15 states have hands-free driving, and I think you'll see legislation that I think will get bipartisan support.
Hands-free.
Hands-free
telephones.
Hands-free telephones in your vehicle.
Driving.
Yeah, not hands-free driving. Although I worry about driverless cars, that's another issue.
Well, it was interesting that the Rural Development Group, study group, went so far as to suggest bonuses for people to move in to rural areas. As much as $3,000 if you will go live in Ahira.
Right.
Yeah,
or
I mean, to me, it just sounds like a little bit of social engineering. You know, this is government trying to steer a certain outcome, trying to, you know,
I'm amazed to hear you say that.
Give them some incentive to do that. Again, we've seen this not just in the United States, but in countries around the world, and ultimately it doesn't work. People should be able to vote with their feet and go where they want to live. And the fact is that they're migrating to urban areas because that's where the jobs are.
Sure.
And I know that there is a tendency on the part of government to want to reverse that trend, but the trend is the trend, and you kind of have to go with it.
You don't want to be paid to go to Ahira?
I'm going to tell you what, you can probably put an auto plan out there or something like that, and people will go. I guarantee you.
It's like
if there are jobs there, they'll go.
$3,000, we can get him to move to Ahira.
I know it. Yeah, I know
it. It's like the movie that opens this week called Downsizing. Have you heard about that? Where the people can be transmitted into 5 inches, and so that this table becomes their universe, and they can, their $150,000 transfers into $1 million downsize.
And by the way, the third thing from the Rural Development Group was health care. And that makes sense, but we also know that's a nearly intractable problem.
Exactly.
How do you get adequate health care? And that's going to be a big, major issue before the General Assembly.
Well, and you talk about incentives. They are doing incentives for doctors right out of medical school to go to these rural areas.
All right, we got to get out.
Can I put in one more thing?
Sure.
There is another special election coming up on, what is it? Advanced voting starts next week, but the general election, January 9th. There's Rockdale, Newton, and Henry counties, State Senate District 17 and State House District 111.
Oh my gosh.
So
haven't we had enough? Oh, these are because other people are running for other offices? Oh my Lord.
So
all right, when we come back, we will turn to winners and losers. Stay with
us. Time now for the week's winners and losers.
And I'm going to take the liberty of speaking for all of us. Tommy Nobis died this week. Mr. Falcon.
Yeah.
They were Falcon's original draft choice.
And he was so young. I didn't know.
76 years old.
I thought he was older than that.
And displaying the effects of that concussion stuff that's going on. Yeah. Wow. Tommy Nobis was not just a great football player. He was a great leader looking after people with disabilities. Amazing guy. Liked him. Yeah. Sorry to see him go. And really amazed that he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah. Which leads us, Jeff, to Dale Murphy, who didn't get into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Baseball Hall of Fame. Didn't make any sense.
What gives?
Tommy Nobis, Dale Murphy, not in the Halls of Fame. Wow. All right, Phil, go ahead. Winners and losers.
Well, I'm going to make Felicia Moore, the new city council president, my winner. We didn't get to discuss that race that much. I think she will be a needed watchdog for the taxpayers in a check on the new mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who of course is a winner. And but the loser is Kasim Reed, and Mayor-elect Bottoms has to be careful, and I think she's going to have to distance herself, if she's not already, with some of these needless fights that the outgoing mayor is picking. I got a winner.
They may be unique to Kasim Reed.
Well, I hope so. I got a winner, though. My alma mater, UGA. Their rugby team is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and on that very day of the celebration, they beat the heck out of hated Georgia Tech, 45-14. And so I think that's great. And you know, my winner is Georgia because according to Wallet Hub, we're the 9th most charitable state in the union. And of course, America is the most charitable country in the world.
There you go.
And that's a tribute.
Alexis.
Okay, I'm going to add Windsor Jordan to the list of people to be remembered. He was the great guy, and the brother of Vernon Jordan, who was a wonderful civil rights lawyer, attorney, and went on to national acclaim, Urban League, etc. But Windsor was here and took over the family catering business. Mary Jordan was the mother who started the company, and they became a part of making of modern Atlanta, and working for just all sorts of integrated parties and stuff like that, and he carried on the family tradition, and he was a wonderful human being.
He was a good guy, part of a little drinking group over on the west side there years ago. Good guy.
Right.
Jeffrey?
Well, we haven't mentioned the revolution that took place over in Alabama, so I guess Doug Jones is a winner, and maybe even Tom Perez for going after the right voters and going after the base. The African-American vote share in Alabama was higher than it was for Barack Obama in both elections.
That's right.
It's pretty amazing, pretty amazing.
A lot of folks stayed home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Loser, unfortunately, well,
A lot of Republicans.
it wasn't pro Doug Jones, right? It was anti the other guy. So, loser, unfortunately, Sam Olens, good guy. I hope he lands on his feet.
And what about Ken Harmon, who's going to be the interim president? He's a winner.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, I want to make a winner. John Yates, the oldest serving member of the General Assembly. He was 96 years old. Think about this. During World War II, the guy flew 200 missions in a flimsy Piper Cub as an artillery spotter over the battlefields in Europe. That's just terrifying. And for me only, the Moody Blues are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The greatest rock band ever. Never miss them when they come to town. The Moody Blues are the real deal, and I don't know why they hadn't been in there earlier. And I'm getting the wrap up, so we'll see you next week on the Georgia Gang. Oh, Falcons, not today. Monday night, Tampa Bay. See you.
Monday Night Football again.